Ever imagine this? In one small American state, there are places where unemployment can hit double digits and crime is part of daily life. But just a few dozen minutes away, another town has household incomes above $250,000, and life feels almost untouched by trouble. These are not two different countries. This is Connecticut, and what makes it feel even more extreme is how close everything is. In this video, we'll look at two sides of Connecticut that are rarely discussed together. From small cities facing the toughest challenges to some of the best small towns with the highest quality of life. Griswold is not a town that immediately feels troubled. At first glance, it's small roads, simple homes, and a slow pace of life. But behind that calm, there is a quieter story. Economic stagnation that has been moving slowly but consistently. The median household income here is around $78,000. That number is not extreme, but compared with Connecticut's high standards, the gap is noticeable. Many residents work outside the area because local job opportunities are limited. The town also includes Jewett City, which serves as a small center of activity. But beyond that, there has not been much major development that truly changes the town's economic direction. Putnam is interesting. Not a town that has fallen, but also not one that has fully risen again. In the past, it was a textile industry center along the Bog River. Today, those traces are still felt, but in a different form. The median household income is around $65,000, with a poverty rate of about 11%. The numbers show that economic pressure still exists, though not as severely as in the cities ranked higher. What makes Putnam unique is that it has tried to change. Its downtown has started coming back to life with art galleries, antique shops, and small restaurants. There is a clear revitalization effort, and that gives the town a fairly strong character. But behind that, the reality is not fully stable yet. Many available jobs are not especially high-paying, and economic growth still feels limited. Crime is relatively moderate, not highly noticeable, but still present. Norwich is often nicknamed the Rose of New England, but behind that sweet name, the reality is quite complex. This city once had an important role as an industrial and port center at the meeting point of three rivers, the Shetucket, Yantic, and Thames. Its location was strategic and its history is strong. Today, the story is more mixed. The median household income in Norwich is around $65,000 with a poverty rate that can reach 16%. That number is fairly high for Connecticut and shows real economic pressure. In terms of crime, Norwich falls into the moderate to high category, especially for property crime. It is not as high as certain big cities, but it is still noticeable compared with the wealthy small towns in this state. New London's unique. Based on location, this coastal city should have everything it needs to grow. An active harbor, proximity to the Navy submarine base in Groton, and busy maritime transportation routes. Even from its waterfront, the atmosphere can feel quite lively and full of character. But once you look at the data, the story is not as beautiful as the view. The median household income here is around $44,000, with a poverty rate of about 21%. There is a noticeable gap between areas that are developing and neighborhoods that are still left behind. Crime is also a factor, especially property crime, which tends to be higher than in many wealthy small towns in Connecticut. This is not a completely unsafe city, but it clearly does not fall into the comfortable and worry-free category like the elite suburbs in this state. Willimantic often feels like a city stuck in the past. It was once a busy textile industry center. Factories stood along the Willimantic River, and the nickname Thread City was not just a name. Even its iconic bridge is still decorated with giant frogs, the Frog Bridge, a symbol of a strange but interesting local story. Today, the reality is more complex. The median household income here is around $45,000, with a poverty rate that can reach 20%. That is high for Connecticut. Many industrial jobs disappeared, and not all of them were replaced by new sectors. The problem is not a lack of life, but imbalance. Willimantic feels like a city still searching for a new direction after losing its old identity. Ansonia feels like a city that once had a major role, and that is true. In the late 19th century, this place was known as a metal manufacturing center, especially for brass. The name Ansonia itself comes from Anson Phelps, the industrial figure who helped bring the city into its golden age. But like many old industrial cities in Connecticut, that story did not fully continue. Today, the median household income here is around $47,000. That number shows real economic pressure, especially when compared with wealthy towns in Fairfield County that are not very far away. In terms of crime, Ansonia tends to sit above the ideal small-town average, especially for property crime and neighborhood disturbances. It is not big city level, but it is enough to affect the sense of safety and quality of life. Torrington's slightly different from other struggling cities. Here, it is not about a major crisis, but more about a slow feeling of stagnation. In the past, the city lived off manufacturing. Metal tool factories and industrial components formed the backbone of its economy. The remains are still visible along the Naugatuck River. Old buildings, some renovated, others looking like they stopped halfway through time. The median household income is around $49,000 with a poverty rate of about 13%. On paper, this is not as severe as Hartford or Waterbury, but the issue is momentum. Growth is slow and truly attractive job opportunities are limited. Crime tends to be moderate, especially in the property crime category. Not extreme, but noticeable compared with Connecticut's elite small towns that feel almost undisturbed. Derby is often called one of the smallest cities in Connecticut, but its history is actually quite big. In the 19th century, the city stood at the meeting point of the Housatonic and Naugatuck rivers, a strategic location that once helped industry grow rapidly. Derby even became one of the important manufacturing centers in the region. Today, the atmosphere is much quieter, maybe too quiet. The poverty rate is around 11%. That number is not as bad as the cities above, but it still shows that the local economy is not truly strong. What you feel in Derby is not a major crisis, but a lack of drive. Its location is actually strategic, close to New Haven and still within commuter range, but its downtown has not grown as quickly as nearby areas, and economic opportunities feel limited. Jewett City. Jewett City is small, truly small, and that is exactly where its story begins. As a borough within the town of Griswold, its scale is limited, and you can feel that immediately in the pace of life. In the past, this area grew from textile production and small factories along the Quine River. Today, what remains is mostly the trace of that history. Old buildings, a simple downtown, and activity that never feels too busy. The median household income here is around $50,000 with a poverty rate of about 14%. On paper, that may look okay, but compared with Connecticut's high standards, the gap is noticeable.